that was caused by the winter storm. Carolina Panthers today released safety Trey Boston while at the Genesis Invitational. Sam Burns leads at 12 under par. Rory
Welcome into the rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeart Radio app. My name is Rob Sanders. As the big voice guy before me just said, we got a lot to get to today. It is opening day in college baseball, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, we'll get into that. Gamecocks getting ready to play Dayton. Clemson getting ready to play Cincinnati. Clemson softball team's already got one game in the books today. They lost to Virginia Tech 9-0. Currently playing Virginia Tech right now. We'll keep you up to date on those scores. In addition to that, today I'm going to talk about the UFC fight this weekend simply because Derek Lewis is fighting. And when Derek Lewis is fighting, that's going to be it's going to be a great fight. Simple as that. And we'll get into why I watch the UFC every time Derek Lewis fights. I'm willing to give away whatever it is that they're asking for their pay-per-view, as long as Derek Lewis is fighting. It's a savage way of thinking, but if Derek Lewis is fighting, I know great things are going to happen, and the reason that we watch combat sports is because of guys like Derek Lewis. Okay, but today we're going to start with, you can hear that right there. My intern, Savage College Football, is in studio. Say hello. You're not going to grab the microphone and say hello?
Hello.
There you go. No, we got to get there. There we go. Let's do it this way. Let's try again. Say hello.
Hello.
Hello. There you go. He's going to agree with me on some of this.
Oh, okay. I thought you were about to say I was going to agree with you on the entire list when I haven't even heard it yet.
Well, the list that we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen, is what is the new wide receiver U? Now, there were some folks online that asked me to do some position type stuff as far as what university is quarterback U? What university is DBU? What university is this? What university is that? Now, this list is going to anger some people today. Why? Because I'm only taking the last 10 years of stuff. Guys that are currently in the NFL right now. So if you're going to come at me later on with, well, blah, blah, blah played in the 1992 NFL playoffs, that's not really going to work for this argument. I'm talking about guys that are probably still in the NFL. That's part of what we're looking at here. And you can actually go and watch their stuff in high definition television. Oh, that's a novel thought, right? I mean, it makes sense. So it sounds like it's basically the current wide receiver U. Okay. I'm not going to get into this whole mix of, Larry Johnson played at Pitt, so Pitt should be up there. Yeah, he did. But the reality is that the way my list is set up is very simple. It's the number of receivers drafted. Okay, that has a lot to do with it. If you were a receiver that were drafted in the top 10, you get some extra leeway on that. If you're round 1 pick, round 2 pick, etc., it's a sliding scale and it goes all the way down. All right. The other adage is NFL games started. All right. So the more games you started, the better off that you would add more points in the Rob's point system here. Now, I'm not saying that my point system is completely correct. It's just what I came up with. If you disagree, you can call it 803-978-1832, and you can tell me I'm stupid, and then we'll laugh at you. But this is what I came up with. What do you got, College?
We'll laugh at you?
You can laugh at me. Yeah, we'll laugh at you.
Okay.
I mean, I can turn your mic off. That's fine.
No, please don't.
All right. Well, there you go. Anyway, getting back to what we were talking about here. Folks already online. Brandon says Alshon Jeffrey, Debo Samuel, Brian Edwards, Pharaoh Cooper, Bruce Ellington, Shi Smith, and Ace Sanders. Yeah, how many games did those guys start? Think about that. Remember what I said. Draft position. That's big too. Okay. So we're getting into this right now. I'm going to start with the team that finished 4th in my rankings. I only did the 4 teams here. The team that finished 4th in my rankings is Alabama. Now, people are like, wait a minute. When I think of Alabama, I think of Amari Cooper. I think Julio Jones. Yeah, those guys are great. But as far as impact after those guys, okay, I'll give you Calvin Ridley. Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy, those guys, they still got to make their marks in the NFL. So those guys should move up in the list as they get more established in the NFL. But right now, they are fourth. So they have Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy, Calvin Ridley, Darius Stewart, Amari Cooper, Kevin Norwood, and Julio Jones. That is the 5 that have been drafted from Alabama since 2010. All right, remember, 10-year window here, ladies and gentlemen, 10-year window. So Alabama is at number 4. Now, I know people are going to be upset by that. Julio Jones is awesome. Yeah, okay. Just saying. That's what I came up with. All right, so then we go to number 3 on the list. And this goes to LSU. When I look at LSU, these are guys that got drafted. Odell Beckham Jr., first-round pick, was an offensive rookie of the year. That actually helped him out a little bit there. Now, I did take half a point away from him because he's absolutely stupid. All right? He's absolutely stupid off the field. So since you're dumb off the field, you lose some points here. How is he? If you're going to talk, speak up there, intern.
How is he dumb?
How about giving people money on the sidelines of the national championship game? Actual cash money. Is that not stupid to you?
It was a national championship celebration.
I don't care. It's stupid. It's against the rules. He's dumb. He's dumb. He had a boat party where he wrote stuff the week before the playoffs. He's dumb. So simple as that. He's got a lot to fix on that front. He's been told he can't even come back on campus at LSU
for a year. Not for his whole life.
They say for a year, but the reality is, it's probably going to be like he's not going to be allowed back at anything of substance.
Why does it feel like you're ranting today?
I'm not ranting. I'm just giving out my stuff here, man. Brandon LaFell, 2010 third-round pick, started 90 games in the pros, so that's solid. Jarvis Landry, I think, is one of the better wide receiver standouts there. Ruben Randall, 2012 second-round pick, 33 starts. There's other guys that got drafted. DJ Chark, Russell Gage, Russell Shepard had 9 starts in the league. James Wright was a 7th-round pick. Malachi Dupree. LSU fans call and be upset with me the way I pronounce that. Trenton Holiday, Kadron Boone, and Cyril Grayson all went undrafted, still waiting for their shot. But they did make some NFL rosters. So they're at number 3. Beggin Megan online says it sounds crazy, but the 22 wide receiver U might just be UGA. Look, we can talk about that, but the reality, I'm talking about the past 10 years, sir, as far as what they've done in the NFL. I do give credit to Georgia for what they've got right now. They've got what looks like it's going to be a stellar group of receivers, and they've got a quarterback that can actually throw the ball to them. So that's a big deal. Number 2 on the list, ladies and gentlemen, is Ohio State. Yes. Now, Michael Thomas is on this list. 2016 second round, 57 starts, 2-time All-Pro, Offensive Player of the Year. I give Michael Thomas grief because I think the majority of his success comes from the fact that he played with Drew Brees. The guy is a 5-yard slant catching guy. That's what he does. He turns them into big plays, but in reality, he catches 5-yard slants. Now, you have to have that, and he does make those catches. I give him that, but he's also been a whiner lately.
So you don't think that Michael Thomas can run a deep route?
I think Michael Thomas is a whiner. If you look at the rest of his Twitter and all that stuff, he's a whiner. So there's that. He did put up some big numbers, though. I don't know where he's going to be playing next year, but I think Michael Thomas is the best of the class, in my opinion. Other guys, Curtis Samuel, great player, in my opinion, 2017. Yeah, there you go. Terry McLaurin, 2019 third rounder, Braxton Miller, Paris Campbell. There's a guy, Philly Brown, got 22 NFL starts. He was undrafted in 2014, but he did make the field for 22 starts. If you make the field for over a season in the NFL, that's respectable, in my opinion. Noah Brown, 7th round, 3 starts. Jalen Marshall was undrafted, had one start, and Evan Spencer was a 2015 6th-round pick. So there you go with that. Those are the wide receivers of LSU. They finish at Ohio State. They're number 2 in my list. And then finally, Clemson is at number 1. So 11 receivers. How dominant has Clemson been? 11 of the receivers who entered the league between 2010 and 2019 started at least one game in the NFL. That is a lot of wide receivers getting a lot of time. Of course, they're led by DeAndre Hopkins, 3 All-Pro nods. Only Central Michigan's Antonio Brown had more in this segment of stuff that I put together. But you go with Watkins, a first-round pick, 110 starts, 3-time All-Pro. Sammy Watkins, 2014 4th overall. So he's a first-round pick, 73 starts. Mike Williams also picked 7th overall, 21 starts. He lost a little bit because he's dealt with some injuries. Jerron Brown, undrafted, did start for 19 games, though. Deion Kane was a 6th-round pick, 6 starts. Jacoby Ford, right under the wire in 2010 with 13 starts. Adam Humphries is making a lot of money in the National Football League, even though some folks thought he really was maybe too slow to play in the league. There was a little bit of that. But Humphries, undrafted, 20 starts, and managed to get a big-time contract from the Tennessee Titans. Ray Ray McLeod was a 6th-round pick, 1 start. Sharon Peake, 7th-round pick, 1 start. And Hunter Renfrow, 2019 5th-round pick, 4 starts. With Clemson, I looked at it here. They had I think it's 11 players drafted in that set of time, and 10 of them at least got 1 start. So that currently, right now, Clemson is wide receiver U. Now, Alabama, when we do this next year, when some of these other guys get into the league, there's an opportunity that Alabama will move up. Couldn't really do it with Smith and Waddle this year because they haven't been drafted yet, so we don't know where they're going to go. But as of right now, Alabama should move up. Georgia, by the way, should move up as well. So we'll take calls on that. Do you agree that Clemson is on Facebook as we get set to go here for the weekend. You know, we talked yesterday about some baseball stuff. We'll get into more of that today. But folks asked about me doing position U stuff. And yeah, that's what I've come up with. So your response to the position U stuff that I put together, 803-978-1832. 803-978-1832 is the number to call if you'd like to join us here on The Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Now, I know people are going to be upset and they're going to be like, but Rob, you forgot to mention this and that. Yeah, I know. But the reality is that things can change over time. Looking at quarterback U, and I was talking with Mr. Savage College Football over here. Be sure to follow him on Instagram. We were talking about quarterback U, and I'm working on my numbers for that. Far and away right now, it should be Oklahoma. Would you agree?
I definitely would. If you have seen some of the guys that they have produced, they've had
Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts, who took them to a college football playoff appearance. Right. And now they have Spencer Rattler, who, after how he performed in his first year, looks like he has a lot of potential for the Sooners.
Yeah, but it's all about what they do in the pros, where they're drafted and how many games they start. So Rattler won't be in the mix. The other guys will, though. So
He could be in a few years.
In a few years, but I'm talking about for right now. And then we look at other quarterbacks across the board here. We'll get into that next week when we do QBU. I'm also going to do linebacker U, and I think I'm going to do DBU next week too. So stick around for that. If you want to respond to what we've talked about today, 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. That is the number to call. If you'd like to join us here on the rundown this afternoon, are you am I being out of touch with having Clemson as a wide receiver U as of right now? I mean, I don't really think so. I think with the numbers that I have here, it makes a lot of sense. Online, folks are saying Sam Bradford, but that was in 2008. I don't know what Brandon's talking about there. I do agree with Beg and Megan online. Georgia's going to move up the list. Edwin joins us in the Facebook group. I know the Alabama fans are going to be upset there at number 4, but that's just where they are. I mean, I can't really. You have 5 guys drafted in 10 years. I mean, it's a numbers thing. When another school has 11 guys drafted, they're going to be higher than you are. I mean, it's not really that far-fetched. We'd love to get your response on that at 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. Clemson, according to the Rob rankings, is at number 1 as far as wide receiver U. Of course, Ohio State's at number 2. LSU is at number 3. And Alabama checks in at number 4. Georgia, by the way, for you Georgia fans that are listening today, checked in at number 5. There you go. As far as guys over the past 5 years, AJ Green put them over the top over everybody else. So, man, people remember AJ Green coming here. He went to Somerville High School, I think it was. And basically, I think he was just a Georgia guy from the rip. And then what happens? You would think that he would go to South Carolina. No, he went to Georgia. One of the recruits that just got away. Love to build those walls if you're Clemson or South Carolina or whoever, and keep guys like AJ Green in the mix. But he went across state lines, went to Georgia. Great player there for the Bulldogs, and great for the Bengals too. I mean, he didn't really have the, people like the quarterback that he had. I wasn't really high on him, but if he would have had a really good quarterback, imagine how much of an impact he would have had in his prime. So, but AJ Green helped put Georgia at number 5 on the list. We'll take your calls on this, as I said, at 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. Brandon was talking about Sam Bradford at Oklahoma. Yeah, I mean, he's outside the window. 2008, though. Remember, it's 2010 on. Simple as that. All right, we'll take your calls on that at 803-978-1832. We've got the UFC stuff. We're going to get into that today. Why you should buy the UFC fight. And we'll talk more here on the rundown. Don't forget, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Rob Sounds Good. And I will answer folks there. I had some folks that were upset with me yesterday about the spring games. Not really upset. We just we kind of chatted back and forth. Andre says, bring on the spring game. Lord knows we need it. Other people think not so much. Anyway, you can respond on Twitter at Rob Sounds Good. More of the rundown when we come back. You're listening to Fox Sports Radio 1400. Edwin, I respect your opinion as a coach. Do you think I'm wrong in my wide receiver U stuff? You can tell me I'm an LSU fan and blah, blah, blah. I get that. But I think the numbers show that. Hi, Shannon. How are you? Brock, I completely agree with you with Coach Stepp. I look at what he did with Arkansas and turned their wide receiver core around. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. Edwin, you're an LSU guy. You agree with me on the fact that Odell Beckham Jr. is stupid. A lot of LSU fans do. Well, you should. I am not an ass clown, sir. Be nice. I think he's talking about OBJ. Oh, man. The coaches don't know either, Brandon. All right, here we go. Welcome back to the rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. You missed the first segment we talked about. Rob's listing of wide receiver U as of right now. Now, I know people are going to be upset. You don't have Alabama's high. They've got Julio Jones. Yeah, I know. It's numbers total, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not really an analytics guy, but as far as putting more people into the league and players that actually make a bigger impact in the league, overall, not just one guy, the numbers show my stuff is pretty much right. A couple of comments from online. Brock says, not saying South Carolina is or will be anytime soon, but Justin Stepp can make South Carolina a good spot for wide receivers to play college football. That, my friends, is called optimism, and that is approved here on the rundown. If you're optimistic about stuff, I'm all about that. And it's not outlandish. He didn't come on here and saying, South Carolina's going to have the best wide receiver core in the country. No, what he said is that Coach Stepp has the capability to develop a good wide receiver core like he did at Arkansas. And he'll probably do the same thing here. So we admire that kind of honesty here on the rundown. You can call up with yours at 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. Brandon says maybe the 6'8" wide receiver transfer from St. Francis, that will be E.J. Jenkins. There are not very many 6'8" wide receivers that are out there. That is a big, tall guy. 6'8". He's 6'8", 245 pounds, I think is the numbers on him. So he's going to be taller than pretty much the average SEC defensive back. Checks in at like what, 6'1"? Am I fair in saying that there, Mr. Savage College Football? About right, 6'1", 6'2"?
I believe you are.
I'm close. All right, so he's going to be a half foot taller than just about everybody that he's going to face up against. Now, the reality is it comes back to this. Can he get down the field and be physical enough, and can he catch the ball? You can be a big, huge guy. If you can't catch the ball, you're pretty much worthless. You're just kind of taking up space. But if you're that big, maybe you can block. There's other little things you can do until you can develop hands. I think Coach Stepp may be able to help him develop some hands if he doesn't have them. So there's that. As far as South Carolina's wide receiver core goes, though, this year is going to be I don't want to use the term rebuilding, but I want to use the term of not rebuilding, just recreating. I mean, you had some great wide receivers. Brian Edwards, the best statistically wide receiver in South Carolina history, is gone. And after that, I know that they had Smith last year, but I think that people want more out of that Gamecock wide receiver core. And I look for guys like the Carry-On Joyner to get an opportunity.
I mean, there's going to be guys that are going to need to step up, especially guys that transferred in, like you said, E.J. Jenkins, and also Jalen Brooks is going to need to step up. The transfer from D2 school Wingate.
There you go with that. Mel and Matt online says, Bama is wide receiver U, running back U, and DLU. In the past 10 years, sir, they're ranked 4th overall. What else you got there, buddy?
RBU, I'm not sure about that.
Well, we're going to get into RBU next week. Let's try to stick with what we've got today since we already broke that down. I do have something that's interesting today. One ESPN analyst, there's always one guy. There's always one guy every year that wants to write off whoever the best considered prospect is in the draft. And the reason that they do that is because they want to be the guy that can come back and say, well, you know what? I told you so, when one guy decides to tank. That guy this year is, of course, this gentleman from ESPN named Ryan Clark. He says, I don't think that Trevor Lawrence is a savior. I don't necessarily think he's a can't-miss all-pro Hall of Fame level quarterback. Well, you're stepping into an arena there that, hey, he hasn't taken a snap in the NFL. I don't think he's going to make the Hall of Fame. How brave of you, sir. How absolutely brave of you, sir. Yeah, he hasn't taken a snap yet, but I don't think he's going to make the Hall of Fame. There's always a guy like that. Always. It's the same thing for just about every year. Mel and Matt missed online and asked, when I told him that Alabama checks in at number 4 with what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 receivers drafted in the past 10 years. Clemson's at number 1 with 11. Ohio State has 10 and LSU has 9. That's why Alabama is number 4 on the list, just ahead of Georgia at number 5. If you want to respond to that, 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. A couple of other notes today on the football front before I get into other things. Here's what we've got with that. The Southern Cal, by the way, is finalizing the hire of LSU's Jeff Martin. He'll serve as lead personnel analyst player development. So they're basically taking folks from LSU and moving them out to Southern Cal. Good luck with that, sir. We'll see how that works. The Carolina Panthers made another release today, releasing Stephen Weatherly and Michael Pilardi. Pilardi is their punter. You're asking, why would they do that? They just released Kawan Short. Because with this, it puts them $24 million under the cap. Now, when you're sitting here and you're thinking about the Carolina Panthers, what is it the Carolina Panthers need? Ding, ding, dong. What is it, buddy?
As a Panthers fan, I can tell you
it's
that they need a
quarterback. Yes. So who out there is in that $24 million range that they really want to bring onto the roster?
Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Watson. They're moving stuff around right now so that they can make a play for Deshaun Watson. Remember the play that we've heard about, the big move was, hey, Deshaun Watson could end up going to going there, but they want to give up 3 first-round picks and Christian McCaffrey. It's kind of what you've heard. If I'm the Houston Texans, I want that deal in a nanosecond. And I would tell them, hey, guess what? You may have thought that we didn't want that deal, but that was the snow that is covering Texas. If I was dumb enough not to take that deal, okay? If I'm that's what I would blame it on, and hope that the front office of the Carolina Panthers was stupid, and they were like, hey, yeah, okay, we'll give you a snow pass, and we'll send that deal off with you. If you have that opportunity, 3 first-round picks and Christian McCaffrey, you jump on it. Absolutely jump on it. And you maneuver your picks around and you try to go after, say, a Justin Fields, or you get you can go after Zach Smith. You can do that with that combination of picks. You can move around a little bit. That makes a lot of sense. The BYU quarterback.
Oh, you mean Zach Wilson? Zach
Wilson. Why am I thinking Zach Smith? Zach Wilson. There we go. So Zach Wilson, the BYU quarterback. Zach Smith. What's wrong with me? Anyway, hopefully they'll get a snow pass. We'll see how that works out. All right, we come back. If you want to respond to my wide receiver U rankings, of course, we'll take calls on that at 803-978-1832. Next week, we're going to do DBU. We're going to do QBU and DLU. There you go. All kinds of acronyms. We're going to talk about the UFC when we come back. Also preview the baseball game, which is supposed to be taking place in downtown Columbia today. South Carolina welcoming in Dayton. Cincinnati is the program that Clemson will play at the start of the season. RMF Tide says, where is this list you're referring to? It's a list that I went through and made up myself, sir. It's the Rob list. And I put out there earlier that the things that got you on this list were your draft position, NFL games started, and what awards your guys had won in the NFL. Now, I know that Alabama fans are going to talk about Julio Jones and Amari Cooper. I get that. I'm talking about total number of starts in the NFL. That was big in it. Total draft position, that was also big in the list. And Alabama only with 7 players drafted is since 2010. That's as far back as I went. All right, quick break. When we come back, we'll have more for you here on The Rundown. You're listening to Fox Sports Radio 1400. RMF Tide, it's not a biased list, man. It's just the numbers, man. Absolute numbers. I'm not going to sit here and try to go with the adage that I'm not putting Julio Jones up against other receivers. So, there's that. Alabama is inbred you. Thank you for that, Brock. Wow. I'm not trying to make you Alabama fans upset. I'm just saying, as far as in the past 10 years, not counting this year's draft that's coming up, just the past 10, a lot of it has to come down to the number of players drafted and the impact they made on the NFL overall, not just a couple of guys. Trust me, Alabama leads in a lot of, I've been looking at a lot of different stuff. They lead in a lot of it. So being upset that you're in the top 4 as far as wide receivers go, don't be upset about that. Well, do better, Brandon. My lists are not suspect, Alan. I put Georgia at 5. Stop with the nonsense. Georgia fans are sensitive, man. I mean, they act like they have a coach who couldn't figure out that their best quarterback was like 4th string in their market. I don't understand. What are you talking about? Oh, of course. I mean, what I'm saying is true. My intern, by the way, who's in studio with us, is a huge Georgia apologist. He's an apologist. Everything Georgia does is absolutely outstanding. That's in his mind.
No.
Yeah.
No, it is not. I am fully willing to admit that Kirby Smart made the wrong decision to not start Justin Fields, and I was happy for him.
Am I right at putting Georgia 5th in my wide receiver year rankings? I think that's fair.
5th, I would put at highest. I would put them at 4th.
Okay, well,
I would not put them at 1, even though.
Then you can put them in over Alabama, and you can argue with the Alabama fans with Julio Jones and Amari Cooper. Want to go that route? I didn't think so.
You didn't even let me answer.
I'm just being honest, man. This is sports talk radio, man. You have to be with it. my poor intern. He's not going to come back. He's not going to come back at all. Are you guys jacked for baseball season over there? I know I'm ready. All right, here we go. Well, welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeart Radio app. Alan is telling me my lists are always suspect. Really? Come on, Alan. Be nice, Alan. He would probably he's probably like my intern over here that would be like, Georgia's number 1, Rob.
I'm saying I never said that Georgia would be at number 1.
Don't whine.
No,
don't
you
whine.
know that during the commercial break I said at highest I would put them at number 4.
Yeah, so you would
even debatable.
You would put them over Alabama at 4. Okay, well that's on you. You can have lunch in Townsend, Georgia, and nobody will laugh at you.
If it was debated enough.
Don't fall into Alabama though.
No, that's not.
Goodness. All right, so in case you missed it, the wide receiver you talk, it will be up on the podcast today at 5:00. You've also got coming up here just shortly, I'm going to talk a minute about the UFC, and we're going to talk about the Gamecock baseball team for a moment. I want to mention one little thing on them. They start their series today with Cincinnati. So be sure to check that out. I'm trying to find out. I had their list of starters and stuff up in front of me, but I don't know what I did with it. But they will start the young man. I think it's Farr tonight or this afternoon. So be sure to go and check them out today. Yeah, 3-game set with Dayton. Here we go. Here's my notes. So with Dayton, they're going to start Thomas Farr and then Brandon Jordan tomorrow, and then Julian Bosnick for Sunday. So there you go with that. Shout out to G Bama Boy Online. Tom wants us to do DBs. Yes, DBs are on the list for next week. Wide receivers were today. DBs on the list for next week. And remember, I'm only going back 10 years because if I go back any farther than that, I mean, it's a completely different type of football. And you're going to have guys that it's different systems and everything else. So it's kind of, I mean, it really is. I think 10 years is a good window. I'm going to be consistent with that across the board. But next week, I think we're definitely going to do wide receivers, and we're probably going to do quarterbacks. That'll probably be on Friday. Are you joining us next Friday, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, then you can help out with the quarterback end. You can come with your set. What university you think is at quarterback U? So there we go with that.
Ooh.
Yeah, stand by for that.
That's
all right.
Very eventful.
Very eventful. All right. So Clemson playing baseball today against Cincinnati. We'll give you the starters for them in just a moment. I wanted to ask some folks about some if they were actually going to go to baseball games, but let's head out to the phones. 803-978-1832. And good afternoon. Welcome to the Rundown.
How you doing, Rob? It's Bobby and Casey.
Bobby, how the hell are you?
I'm doing well. North Carolina is playing James Madison on the ACC network for those who might get that on their satellite or cable package.
For baseball, right?
Yeah, for baseball.
Yeah, they were supposed to play Kentucky, and that series was canceled because of COVID. So.
Yeah, and then Miami, which I have an interest in, I'll be watching, plays Florida on SEC network at 5.
That is the matchup of the weekend. Number 1, Florida, and number 11, Miami. Folks that love the ACC, SEC matchups, this is the best one in college baseball, in my opinion, with those two teams squaring off.
Okay. And one reason I called in, Lou Bajek of the state just tweeted out the boys and girls South Carolina basketball championship playoffs, March 3rd through the 6th, will not be in the Colonial Life Arena. They'll be over in Aiken. He just tweeted it out because usually it's convenient for the football championships in Columbia because it's in the middle of the state. They use Williams-Brice most of the time, and then they've started to use Charlie Johnson. Basketball is a Colonial Life Arena. I've never gone to the basketball championship since I've been up here, but now it's interesting they decided to have them in Aiken. So
yeah, that is interesting. I wonder if that's because of COVID. I don't know. Did he explain why?
I don't know, because why would you need to rent an 18,000 seat building for the state championships and some real schools like Burns, Duncan, and Burns High School and Duncan, like in football, when they play their state championship at Williams-Brice, they bring like the whole town, 12,000 people. But it's like the state championships down in Florida for basketball, boys and girls. I mean, originally they used the Miami Arena in Miami. Then they used what they call the AAA, the American, where the Heat play now by Bayside. But so with COVID, of course, it would be more economical for the state athletic league to rent 3,600 seat Aiken Convention Center, and then might only be able to get a third in there. Where here, how much? It wouldn't pay off. There'd be no financial payoff. So that's something I'm going to bring up to Phil tonight. I mean, and see what he would say.
That's true, man.
He pretty much, carries the mail, totes the rock for high school athletics. I mean, I'm not going to be able to drive over there and see it. I mean, But anybody that's out there that I know, there's one caller that calls all three shows, Hank, and he's probably going to call. He's probably real interested in to know where they're going to have it. But I mean, I just want them to have it. I want the payoff to be for all these young people that might go to college or might not, that have participated this year with this hectic year because of all the strain in our lives, the changes on a workplace and then school, to be able to let it culminate to a state championship for someone.
That's a good point, man. Heading to Aiken, that's just not, that's too far in my opinion. But
yeah,
we'll see.
And well, you know, and I'll listen to your programs and I'll tell you my opinion who the quarterback you or the wide receiver you is. But just I'll throw my hat in the ring. Alabama's put out some dominant players.
They have, but it's total numbers. But you're right.
As wide receiver you, and I'm anxious to see where Devonta Smith's going to go, because I hope he doesn't go to the Jets. What are the dysfunctional
Nobody
franchise?
wants anybody to go to the Jets. That's pretty much what it boils down to.
I mean, and another thing, I saw someone on Twitter today, and I'll get off, about him going to the Lions. Remember when Matt Newland left the broadcast booth?
Right.
He drafted like a number one first round wide receiver 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
And, you know, what a dud before you know it. And, you know, he was back on college football on ABC.
That's true.
But, I mean, he was supposed to be with, I guess, Joe Buck instead of Troy Aikman as like the lead color analyst, and he bolted for the Lions, and it was a disaster. And I know he's gone through health issues, and he was back on college, so I enjoyed him in college.
Yeah, man.
So anyway, I'm thinking if he can get in the right fit, he's going to put up real decent numbers, assuming he doesn't get hurt. So I mean, how can Alabama, what you know, other than someone playing in a Big 12 school where they have those wide open, you know, high scoring games, you know, that's definitely Alabama's wide receiver right now. So,
right.
So anyway, you take care. Thanks for letting me ramble on here. Have a great week and enjoy the baseball.
All right, buddy. We'll see you later on.
It's North Carolina 2, James Madison 0 right now, by the way.
Well, there you go. North Carolina doing their thing.
Care.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
All right. So there you go with that. Folks online asking about where did I come up with the list? It's just data I compiled, man. And I used different stuff and to basically put it out there. It's draft position, NFL games started, awards won. That's basically what it boiled down to. And I know Alabama is up there in the top, but, you know, top 4 is solid. Top 4 is solid. More of the rundown. We'll wrap it up and we come back. You're listening to Fox Sports Radio 1400. I'm not ripping Alabama, guys. Let's make sure we understand that. This is my own list. You can come up with your list. My list is unbiased. It's numbers. Who? I'm not ripping Alabama. Stop it. But Matt, you're I'm talking about in the pros. He hasn't even been drafted yet, so he's not eligible for this list. So you're not, I mean, you got to go back and check out the beginning of the video or check out the podcast. It's the past 10 years. It doesn't count this year's stuff. You can't count Devontae Smith into a list when he hasn't been drafted yet. That's basically where I'm going with this. It's all pro stuff, man. All pro stuff. Yes. And I have Georgia at number 5 there, SEC dog. You guys are so crazy. No, it's not the college-wise stuff, man. It's where they got drafted, how many games they started, and NFL offensive awards. Offensive player of the year, first team all-pro, offensive rookie of the year, things like that. It's not a rip on any school. It's just numbers that I put together. Yeah. No disrespect intended to any program. Just when you look at just the number, and that's why next year things can change. You know, if we look back, and I just like the 10-year window, but we can look back and it can completely change. Really can. South Carolina should be high. I mean, I haven't done all my stuff yet for DBU, but I'm working on it. It takes a while to go back and look at each college and figure out, you know, who's got what. You got to look at every draft, and it's interesting.
online at absoluteglassclinic.com.
And remember, if you can see through it, we can do it.
iHeartRadio is your audio tour guide for Black History Month. The culture that sets the trends, creates the moments, and moves the line. Check out original.
Gilmore is, I think, and I know this sounds silly. I think Gilmore, you can make the argument that he has been the best DB in the league, but I think the Patriots are going to cut him or move him, because I think that Belichick is a guy that he wants to get rid of guys at the top of it there, in my opinion. All right, here we go. Final segment of the rundown this afternoon here on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. Folks were asking about DBU for next week. They think that the Gamecocks are going to rank high simply because of Stephon Gilmore. Yeah, I mean, Gilmore's great, but I think I was thinking about this the other day. You know, with the Patriots, the way that Bill Belichick does things would not surprise me if Belichick ends up moving him along. G Bama Boy says that Julio, Ridley, and Amari Cooper are doing better than Hopkins and Sammy Watkins in the NFL. And you can make that argument, but as it stands right now, Hopkins is a 3-time All-Pro with 110 starts. Watkins was picked 4th overall, 73 starts. Mike Williams picked 7th overall, 21 starts. You can work your way down from there. People seem to forget Adam Humphries, too, who is making a lot of money as what is considered one of the better slot receivers in the NFL with the Tennessee Titans. People seem to forget him, too. You throw that into the mix, and it's just the amount of guys drafted and the amount of time they played in the league. That's what it boils down to. It's not like I'm mocking Alabama and what they've got. And I can't sit here and trust me, next week, I think just from my initial look, 3 of the positions are Alabama far and away. Far, far, far and away. So don't get too upset with me there, Alabama fans. You can cuss me out on Twitter, though. I'm used to that. It's at Rob Sounds Good. Or you can call up now where you can't curse at 803-978-1832. 803-978-1832. That is the number to call if you'd like to join us here on the rundown. As I said, baseball first pitch for the Gamecocks just after 4 o'clock today. Same thing for Clemson, weather permitting. If you're into some college baseball, big series for both teams. And I think it's going to be interesting with a lot of these. They call them mid-majors. A lot of these mid-majors are going to be really good. And you may end up losing a game or two to a team that you're like, huh? How did that happen? So we'll see how that works out over the weekend. I'm jacked up tomorrow night for UFC Fight Night, Curtis Blades and Derek Lewis. If you haven't watched a Derek Lewis fight, it's one of the most entertaining fights that you'll ever see. Most people remember Derek Lewis because he basically stripped down to his drawers in the ring or the octagon when Joe Rogan was interviewing him after a fight, and gives probably the best post-game thing ever there as far as post-fight interviews. But Derek Lewis is a monster. You should follow him on Instagram because it's all just monster stuff that he does. Tom knows online what he's talking about. But Derek Lewis has 11 knockouts in the UFC, a record for heavyweights, and he is a stand-up fighter. He's going to face Curtis Blades, who is one of the best takedown guys in the UFC. Blades is 14-2 overall. Lewis 24-7 overall. But the best thing about Lewis, if you like guys that are just going to square up and just fight you, it's going to try to knock your head into the next month, Derek Lewis is that guy. So I don't think I get an endorsement for UFC. I should. They'll get my money tomorrow night, though. I will be watching that Derek Lewis fight. They have combined 29 career knockouts between Blades and Lewis. And it's just something about the heavyweights fighting. You know, you see a lot of the small guys, and I'm not taking anything away from Conor McGregor and Habib and all those guys when they check in at a buck 45 there, and they're about 5'4" tall. Yeah, all right. They look big when they're on stage and stuff like that. But when you have these massive individuals, Derek Lewis is like, I think he's like 6'5", like 240, something like that. Just a big, massive guy. They're getting out there and they're going to fight tomorrow night. So take my money, UFC, please. Also, over the weekend, we mentioned the Carolina Panthers moving all this draft stuff or moving all these players around, cutting guys here or there. Makes you wonder, are they going after Deshaun Watson? We know they did offer, they were trying to get Matt Stafford. They offered Teddy Bridgewater and a first-round pick for Matt Stafford. He ended up going to the Rams. So whoever's up there, they need to jump off the cliff a little bit higher if you're going to try to get the Deshaun Watson goodness to come to your program or team. Not a program, it's a team. Yeah, team, right? Yeah, team. Anyway, so there's that. I think that with them moving all of these guys around, that tells you something. That really does. They had a lot of dead money, which is big when it comes to salary cap time. But in the end, they're just moving so many guys that makes you wonder if that's where, remember the little nugget here and there as we get closer. Now, I do think that once we get to NFL draft time, I think that the chances, if Deshaun Watson is still listed as a Houston Texan the day after the draft, he's not going to play anywhere else for at least this season. Just saying. It's just the way that it is. I think it has to include this year's draft picks, in my opinion. If you want to call, we have a couple minutes. We can talk about that at 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. I forgot to get in touch with my buddy Lawton Swan from Clemson Sports Talk. I would have loved to have had his input on my wide receiver U list. He was not here for it, and that's fine. But you can check out Lawton Swan's show. Lawton Swan does his show every day here from 4 to 6 on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Of course, around the world on the iHeartRadio app and the vast Clemson Sports Talk Radio Network.
Stop looking at me, Swan.
Yes, we all love the Swan. Be sure to check him out this afternoon right here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. I'll be tweeting throughout the weekend as I'll be following. The fight is the huge thing for me this weekend, and college baseball. I'll be watching especially that series with number 1 Florida and number 11 Miami. On paper, that is like a college baseball World Series matchup in the middle of February. You don't get very many matchups like that. So as far as outside of conference play. So that's going to be interesting. Looking forward to that this weekend. As I said, South Carolina and Clemson baseball, they get underway here in about 10 minutes. So be sure to follow that. I'll be tweeting out about both of those series. Generally, my tweets for baseball are like, I'll tweet out something. It'll be like, oh, he missed with that pitch. And then everybody's like, what pitcher is he talking about? So I got to start adding what team I'm watching. I got to get better about that. All right. I'm on Twitter at Rob Sounds Good. Be sure to follow me there with the stuff that I put out. Sometimes my Twitter is all over the place. Mikkel says, man, Taters think they're better at everything. Okay, sir. Brandon says South Carolina hasn't had a quarterback drafted since Todd Ellis in 1990. Yeah, that's a very fair point. Very fair point, sir. And man, it's crazy how I feel about college baseball. I absolutely love it. Are you into college baseball, sir? Yeah, have at it. Are you into college baseball?
The only team that I pay attention to is Georgia in college baseball. I've never been a huge baseball guy. So I'm one of those guys that I cannot watch baseball on TV, but when I'm at the game, I get really into it.
Yeah, I'm the same way with hockey. Just saying. Same way with hockey. All right, so podcast for the show will be up this afternoon at about 5 o'clock. Make sure you check that out. Next week, DBU, we'll have that. We'll also have QBU. All kinds of good stuff for you here on the Rundown. Don't forget Lawton Swan, as I said. And you guys have a great weekend, and we will see you tomorrow. On Monday. Man, I'm out of it, dude. Say goodbye.
Goodbye.
There you go. That's a wrap.
Having trouble finding high-quality gym equipment in stock? Let Carolina's specialty fitness help ease your stress and